How's it going today, YouTube, and welcome back to Shaner's Mechanic Life. Today I got a 2017 Nissan NV200 van with a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. Customer complaint is rough running under acceleration as well as a check engine light on. And when you scan it, it comes up with a P0301 cylinder number 1 misfire. What I'm going to show you in this video will be the same whether your code is P030001, 02, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, however many cylinders it goes up to. This one just happens to be 1 cylinder, cylinder number 1. Here we go. Now whenever I get a check engine light, the first step I always do is a good visual inspection. Take a look at the engine compartment, take a look at all the wiring, see if any chew marks or anything from rodents, any undone wires, any visual damage. Unfortunately with this vehicle, cylinder number 1 is the very front one. You can just barely see the coil there, and that's cylinder number 4. So for us to do our visual inspection, we're going to have to pull this intake manifold. It's not too hard to do. Just undo the bolts at the front. Usually what I do is I undo all the intake ducting. A lot of times I'll leave the throttle body in there if it's possible. That way you don't have to undo any coolant lines, stuff like that. Just undo the bolts and you can replace the gasket at a later date. But before you start doing anything, always make sure you disconnect your battery. Now this misfire could be caused by any number of reasons. It could be an ignition misfire, which could be a spark plug, ignition coil, connector, or even be in the harness. Or it could be a fuel delivery issue. You could have a bad injector, or again, bad wiring or a computer issue. Or it could even be a mechanical problem. Low compression, burnt valve, bad cam lobes, any number of reasons. But like I said at the beginning of the video, first step is always a good visual inspection. So I'm going to pull this intake manifold off and we'll have a look. What I noticed with this too is the ignition coils go through the valve cover. So whenever you have something like that, it's possible for the seal in that valve cover to be leaking. So you could end up getting oil inside that spark plug well. That could cause your misfire. But at this point we're just guessing. So let's open it up and we'll have a look. Well, what does everybody think is going to be the cause of the cylinder number 1 misfire? I'd like to hear your guesses. So leave a comment in the comment section. And stay tuned till the end of the video and we'll see who's right. Okay, got the intake manifold off, spark plugs and coils out. And visually looking, I don't see any rodent damage on the wiring. When I pulled the coils out, there was no oil in the spark plug wells, so we know these gaskets are fine. Here's the plugs and the coils. If those gaskets are leaking, you'll get oil built up all over on there, and that'll definitely cause a misfire. So these are the old coils and plugs out of that Nissan van. Now when you visually inspect ignition coils, first thing you want to do is check your connector. Make sure it's clean and tight. All the terminals are clean, you don't see any corrosion, and that connector is fully seated on. And if you have a design like this one where these coils go through the valve cover, there's going to be an oil seal in the valve cover. And if that fails, you're going to get engine oil into that spark plug tube, which could short out and cause your misfire. Now also, what you want to do is check along this extension that goes down to the plug. If you see any carbon tracking, which will look like a little bit of a pencil line, that could be current from the coil leaking out the body and then shorting out inside the spark plug tube. And also you want to check the condition of the little boot at the end too. If you see any damage to that or carbon tracking through that, that could also be your culprit of your misfire. Now moving on to the spark plugs. When you take them out and visually inspect them, you want to check your spark plug gap. Make sure that's the manufacturer's specifications. And another common problem is this porcelain will crack. If you look closely, this one is actually okay. But if it's cracked, you'll see, kind of hard to focus, you'll see a little black line in there. And if that's cracked, your current through your ignition coil and the spark plug, that'll leak through there. And you want to check the electrodes for fouling. If you look at this one, you can see the buildup on the electrode. That's from burning oil. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but if you look at the electrode on the bottom part there, you can see that's for burning oil on that side. But if you rotate it, it's clean on that side. That could be another cause of a misfire. Now, that's just not a spark plug problem. That's an oil burning problem. Whether it's, you know, piston rings or valve seals or stuff like that. But when it's just on one side, chances are that's coming through your intake, which it could be valve seal or PCV system like on this van. Now, these spark plugs have just over 100,000 miles on them, which, you know, they've done well for their age. So whenever I get a vehicle with a misfire, I always go after my regular maintenance items first. You know, like your spark plugs, your cap, your rotor, your wire set. You know, check your basic maintenance stuff first before you go digging deeper into more in-depth problems. And a lot of times you can find the problem yourself without any specialized tools. Just kind of disassemble everything, give it a good visual, and chances are you'll see your problem. So if you have an inspection camera, now would be a good time. Take a peek down in each of the combustion chambers, as well as take a look through your intake of the valve, see if there's any carbon buildup, because that could also cause a misfire if it gets too bad. Now, looking at the intake, we're getting oil in the intake. That's the intake runner. That's caused by the PCV system. This is your PCV valve here. What that does is that draws crankcase vapors out of the crankcase and puts them back through the intake. It's normal to get a little bit of oil vapor coming back through, but you know, if your oil's over full or it's diluted with fuel or something like that, it's possible to get even more. Due to the fact that we had to pull the intake and do all this work just to check everything, the customers decided to go ahead and just put 4 new spark plugs and 4 new ignition coils. So we're going to go ahead and do that, put it all back together, clear the codes, take it for a good test drive, rescan it, and then see how it is. Okay, so it's all back together again. Let's go into cab, we'll clear the codes, take it for a good test drive, and then rescan it. Okay, so we'll clear our codes. And time for a test drive. Well, I took it for a nice long test drive with some stop and go traffic and some hard accelerations and a little bit of higher speeds and slower speeds. Rescanned it, no codes present. Well, that fixed our misfire. Well, I hope you found this video helpful, informative, and entertaining. And I definitely hope the information in this video will help someone save a lot of money by being able to troubleshoot something yourself. And if it's outside your skill level, never be afraid to ask for help from a qualified mechanic. They'll always be there to help you. Just want to end this video by thanking somebody who left a comment in a previous video, Tina Van. Thanks for the comment. I really appreciate it. Well, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more like it, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. That way you get notified when I get new videos coming out. Well, that's it for tonight, everybody. Have a good night, and thanks for watching.